Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be joined by um, by one of my really close friends, Reva Pau, today. My name is Arlene. It's our first student-led Create CA Live, and we're just waiting for Reva to join. Hi, Reva.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. It's so good to see you, and I know we haven't seen each other since quarantine. How are you doing?
I am honestly doing pretty good. I know finally, I think the 4 month mark just hit. So I'm like, okay, this is how life is gonna be for a little longer. But I definitely still have hope. And I've just been kind of like doing some like academic schoolwork. I've been doing some artistic work. Honestly, a lot of relaxing as well. So yeah, honestly, not too bad for me. How about you? How's
I'm
quarantine
so
been?
glad. Yeah, I'm doing really well. I've been creating a bunch of art. It's helping me like pass the time, but also like when things get really stressful, I just have like somewhere to turn and be
Hmm.
able to, focus like all of my energy
Right.
on making art. How about you? Have you been creating or like attending any classes or anything like
Yeah.
that?
I have made it a quarantine goal of mine to like start reading more plays, reading more monologues, starting like maybe a bit of like a college monologue search almost. I've been very lucky that one of my theater teachers from Loxa, from my high school, has done this play reading class basically. So we meet on Zoom like every Monday and we just read a play. And it's like really, really fun. It's like just with my friends, like artistic, like just a place to just read and have fun and have a
Yeah,
theater education. It's really fun.
yeah, that's so awesome. So for everybody watching, Reva and I are both rising seniors at the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts. I'm in the visual arts department, and Reva is a theater department reppin'. Um, so yeah, we get 5 arts classes every week. So we're super fortunate and super lucky to have that resource and have access to those things.
Hmm. Very.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite class maybe at Loxa?
Who? Let me think. Actually, yes. So this year, as I mean, when I was a junior in theater, we had this class called literary criticism, where it was basically that once again we read a bunch of plays. I think I'm actually kind of big on reading, so I did not mind the reading part of it. But we would just choose plays, especially from like POC playwrights, and just take a scene, take a chunk of that play, and like really really analyze it and like see what the playwright wanted, go into like their history, like where were they coming from when they wrote this piece. So yeah, a lot of like deep analyzing of theater work, which is really fun for me. I know that's something like I want to keep doing, and that's kind of what I've been doing in the summer as well, just like really like picking at these pieces of like theater work that I haven't gotten the time to before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would definitely say my favorite class was literary criticism.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I know that we get like this 3D design class that I think is super cool because we get to think like really critically about the objects that we use and like the shapes that we create.
Hmm.
And it's really awesome. So, what I think is real, we have such a privilege like coming from an art school
Oh
because
yeah.
we get access to all of these things and all of these resources and materials.
Hmm.
And I think it's crazy because in California, it's actually mandated that all students in grades K through 12 have access to music, dance, theater, visual, and media arts, which is like cinematic arts kind of.
Hmm.
Um, and we get access to all of these things, and there's students that don't have any access at all, or maybe have
Right.
one class in their high school or their middle school,
Hmm.
and they kind of have to fight for spots, which I think is really crazy. Um,
That's true. Yeah,
yeah.
I know from like my middle school experience, like I think arts was always treated as an elective, and like it was almost like just just like something to do on the side, not really like part of the curriculum.
Hmm.
And even like going to Loxa, like having like these like really really professional like experienced teachers, I was like, wow, like I've never been even introduced to this. And yeah, it's exactly like you said, like it's mandated, so how can it I can't be like just treated as like an extra class to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I think is so essential to how we kind of exist in this world. Like I think going through this like 4 years of arts training
Hmm.
has taught me new things and has taught me like to perceive the world in a different way and think really critically and also think really creatively about how I approach things.
Yeah.
And like
No.
if I don't have one thing, like how can I substitute it with something else, or how can I solve this problem in a way that hasn't been thought before?
No, that's like now that I've done like 3 years of locks and like we're almost to our fourth year, I like unlike involuntarily realize how many things that theater has taught me that I apply in like the everyday world. Like just like I know from theater, like a big aspect of us is just like teamwork and ensemble work, which like makes it a lot easier when I have to do like group projects at school, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something I can just take that creative thinking and that like teamwork, team leadership aspect and put it into like my academic work, and then everything just kind of like lines up for me when it comes to like what I get from theater and or even dance, since I am part of a dance team which has the very same aspect of teamwork, and I can apply that to like my academic work. And then yeah, and also isn't it true that like students who have art training or arts education are like more likely to like go to a good school or like
Mm-hmm.
like have a good career and whatnot?
Yeah, so I actually, if you students who have an arts education are 5 times more likely to stay in school, which I think is really crazy.
Mhm.
Because when we have art, we have things to look forward to. We're sitting through the. Sometimes I just sit through the day to kind of get to that class at the end of the day, my
Yeah.
art class, and just kind of like, oh, okay, the day's over. I have this like
Yeah.
cool class, or I have this cool teacher.
Yeah.
And I just get to be here with like me and my thoughts and then whatever materials that I'm working in, which I think is really cool because I think, we have so much power to not only express kind of how we're feeling or how we're doing, but also like what's going on in the world and translate those things into like physical things or performances like in theater.
Mhm. No, yeah. 100%. I think I know, especially this year, once again as a junior, like there was a lot of in the curriculum itself of the theater department. We made it a goal to make like social activism and like current events like a very prominent theme in our work. Like we did, so Laksa, at least for the theater department, has 3 season shows, and
Mm-hmm.
all of them like had to do with like social activism and social justice. So like I know I feel so privileged to go to a school that like prioritizes those themes and those ideas in arts training, which is like the perfect blend for me at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we play such a critical role,
Mhm.
artists or people who have arts training, because art is a universal language. Sometimes art doesn't even, use words. Like if I paint
Exactly.
something and I depict something and,
Hmm.
I can recognize what I've created, and maybe somebody who speaks a different language can also recognize the gravity that my work holds. And so, we have such a big power, but also responsibility, right? To kind
Oh
of
yeah,
use it for good and use it to convey these social messages and important messages.
I know. And like right now, just thinking about it, it's like if I had gone to like my regular high school, like I don't know how much of that I would have gotten, like just like being aware that I'm like very privileged to be going to a school that prioritizes these things and like treats arts as like a mandatory thing, as Board of Education like demands it to be. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it shouldn't, I think what really bums me out is that it shouldn't be like that, right? It shouldn't be
Yeah,
like a choice between like going to Loxa versus going to like my regular high school.
exactly.
It should be like that everywhere. Like everybody should have the opportunity and the access to be able to learn these critical skills that we have been privileged to learn.
You know,
Yeah.
very true. Yeah, and then I'm sure you want to talk about this, but one thing that we have been doing during quarantine is the art hour. I
Yeah.
know. I want you to like introduce it, and then I can like
Okay.
sprinkle in my little thing if you want.
So, like we had mentioned earlier, all students in California are mandated by education code to have access to all 5 areas of art, whether that be music, dance, theater, visual, and media arts. And about 88% of schools don't comply with that. And even if some schools have access, it'll be like one class, and everybody will be fighting to enroll in it. So I started the Art Hour, which is a student-run nonprofit, and we teach 3 to 5 arts classes every day for students in pre-K through 12, and we teach in all areas. So Reva teaches theater for younger kids. I teach contemporary art history and collage books. We have instructors who teach like contemporary dance, some beginners movement classes, how to create music. So we're really trying to provide those opportunities for kids to learn these really critical skills that maybe they don't have access to in their schools.
Exactly. Um, just knowing that like I have so much in like my front and back pockets of like theater that I wanna like give these kids an opportunity, and like just the things that I learned from Lotsa, like they should totally be getting this at their school, and fortunately they don't. And theater is something that is like so personal, like especially when you just start like learning about it and like just getting into acting. It's so personal and stuff, and it's so nice to be part of the Art Hour because like now I have like these relationship with these kids almost. So as you said, like my theater class is called Theater for Younger Kids, and I'm teaching like pre-K to third grade, I believe, like a very very like a young group of kids. And we've had 3 classes so far, and it's been so fun. And it's like already like we've started a journey basically, because I've seen them from like day one, like they're already starting to grow, and it's like it's such like a like maternal feeling almost. But I feel like so lucky to have like that outlet, that space where I can use my arts education and give to the people who unfortunately don't. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so tomorrow will be the 1 month anniversary that we've been teaching 4 weeks of art classes. And yeah, I think it's really beautiful the way that we can come together as artists and be able to give back to our communities, and give to students who are really hungry to be learning about arts education. They'll come into class and then they'll be like, next week can we do this? And I was like, oh, I wasn't planning on teaching next week, but okay, I guess I have to come back now.
Yeah. No, that's so true. Even with the theater class, like because they're so young, we make them do scenes from Disney movies, which I know is like kind of weird, but like that keeps them invested. So like in the beginning, we did like a Frozen scene and whatnot, and they were like, next week can we do this movie and this movie? And I'm like, oh my god, they want to come back, and
Yeah.
it's so nice. Like they want to volunteer, and they want to read the scenes, they want to like play the games, which is so nice to see because they maybe not get that at school and like in person. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we have been getting so much great feedback and so many great emails and Instagram DMs from parents and students, um, and they're loving it so much. And so I'm so grateful that we're being received so well, and also that that they want to learn, because I
Exactly.
think a lot of people think like, oh, like nobody needs to know art, like it's not going to benefit me in the future. But I'm like, you get a better grade when you can draw on those like history projects.
100. Oh my god, yes. So true. So true.
But yeah, I mean, it's so essential, and people want to know it, and people
Right.
want access to it. So why are we kind of like blocking this access by saying, oh, we have no money for it, or like we don't have the funding? I think there's always ways to make the essential happen.
I know, like, look at us. Like, we're in quarantine and we're doing arts classes over Zoom. Like, it's totally possible. Like, funding should be like the least of our concerns right now. I just like just giving it to these kids who like clearly want it, and they clearly want to be there. They clearly want that education. Like, why not? You know?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's so beautiful because they're conveying what's happening to them, and what's happening in the world too. Like they're super young, but they're able to utilize it as like a tool,
Hmm.
to express themselves. Like I was teaching an art history class, and I was like, guys, what is art? And this little girl raises her hand and she goes, art is a translation of the imagination and my emotions and my thoughts on paper. And I was like, yes, exactly, that's beautiful. um,
Beautiful.
and so I don't know, it just gives me so much hope to know, like, okay, that people want this and people need this. So like, what are the ways that we can encourage policymakers or leaders or school board members. Like, how can we, start those conversations of like, this is important to us and this is essential to our communities.
I know, exactly. Like, I feel like I know if I ever get an opportunity to talk to a school board member, I would use Art Hour as the biggest example. Like, look, I have like kids from like, just all different places from LA, clearly wanting to learn, even if it's something as simple as, reading a scene over Zoom. Like, they're even excited to do small things like that or play like a game or whatever it might be. So yeah, I know that like the more you mention it, I'm like, wow, some like these kids are so hungry for it and they don't get it at school. So like, where else are they supposed to look?
Yeah.
And I feel like I know from at least the school district that I came from, um, art is kind of, it's just not prioritized, I would say, as much as like either academics or athletics is. So I'm like why is that when we clearly have kids in the community wanting to like even like I can't even imagine like maybe if I went to a regular high school I wouldn't even want a career in the arts. Now that I totally do, I want to go to college for theater. But yeah, it just like this like the environment that you're in, and if the school is not promoting it, like where are they supposed to go, you know?
Yeah, and I think that it gives us so many other skills too. Like, even if we don't want to pursue a creative career, like making art for everybody is making art like all the time is not for everybody, and that's cool. But like you're saying, it gives you skills to work with others. It gives you skills to think critically. Like, I know every time that I'm going for like a job interview, or like an internship interview, I'm like, I'm an artist. So I
Yeah.
have this ability, like I move through the world and I'm kind of thinking about how can I make this in a different way? Or like, how can I solve this problem in a way that I've never thought about it before? Or, how can I, like one of my questions in my arts class was like, how can I make my face, reproduce my face? And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna use plaster, I'm gonna use a mold, and I taught myself how to do all these things. And I made a casting of my face, and it is horrifying, but it got me to really think and problem solve and think really critically about what am I using and what can I teach myself and what am I learning and how can I apply it to do what I want to do.
Right. No, exactly. I've been very lucky that I go to a dance studio basically that's kind of like my home dance studio, and I have a job, you could say. It's known as a work study. So basically I'm working for dance tuition. And I just see myself just at a very simple job, like, managing a front desk or, like dealing with people, like customer service. I can use like things that I've learned from theater to become like this people's person and like, make them feel comfortable with me and whatever it might be, like provide for them. And yeah, like I said before, like that whole teamwork aspect that comes from theater, especially lots of theater, like it's like my theater family. Like that's what we call each other. That's how like big we are in teamwork. It just helps me so much with like working with my dance team or working with people from my school for a project, whatever that might be. That's like it's just like helpful everywhere. I can apply it everywhere. And
Yeah, and I know that we're getting ready to go to college soon. We're getting all of our portfolios and audition stuff together. And I didn't know that you're literally 3 times more likely to get a bachelor's degree if you have an arts education, which I think is insane because I'm like, if an art class is all it takes to get people to pursue higher education, then let's do it.
I know, more reason to like implement like proper curriculums and like arts education into public schools. And yeah, like you said, like in all aspects, not just something really generic like oh, music, like what about music? Like there's so many things that go into that. So like exactly, just being very like specific and being very like diverse when it comes to arts education.
Yeah, and of course, like creating a really thorough education. And I think sometimes, like when we think about creating programs for like people in schools, especially public schools, like you said, they're not taken really seriously, and it's kind of like, oh, let me teach you this one basic skill, and that's all we're gonna learn.
Right.
when you're going to take away so many rich things. If you have a really comprehensive arts education and you're taking away teamwork and you're taking away creative thinking skills and critical thinking skills, and then you're going to college and you have all these skills and people are like, how did you learn this? And it's like, I'm an artist.
And I've been doing this for 4 years basically. And yeah, and I just know, as this is kind of like entering a different realm, but I know as like a woman of color, like inclusivity is so big for me, and like going to Loxa, I feel so lucky to be part of like a school and a program that like you know, it's inclusive. I feel welcome. I feel like a family, and I think so many kids could like use that, and if it was available in their public school, like art is such a big way that kids, you know, want to feel included, and they want to learn something, they want to be part of something bigger. So yeah, once again, just like in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, even like just having a proper arts curriculum is so important.
Yeah, and now I'm even wondering, like, okay, you know, we gotta go to this wonderful school, and it really like art fosters a sense of community, and like a sense of like duty almost. Like, okay, when we have a collective studio, so I'll work alongside somebody else, and we'll help each other clean up, or like we'll help each other with a project that's really huge. So it's like I have a duty to help you, and you have a duty to help me because we're working in the same space together. And I feel like that's a little bit with theater too, maybe, of like,
100%.
you know, it's give and take. So I'm wondering, like, if we have this like utopian world, which shouldn't be utopian, where like you start off in kindergarten and you have arts education and you grow up with it, like how would it manifest in our world today, where we're fostering community and just like this connectivity? You know, I think our world would look so much more different.
Exactly. And like even like me and you right now, like you're a visual artist, I'm a theater student, like completely different parts of like Loxa even, but like there's so many things that like we connect on and we can understand each other if we're working on like a like I know we have a bunch of academic classes together, like me and you like we just understand each other better because of the skills that we get from our arts training.
Yeah, definitely. So now I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I do to reach out? Because I know like my local school district doesn't have as many arts classes as Loxa. And, you know, like we were saying earlier, like it shouldn't be this choosing. Like, do I go to art school or do I go to, you know, regular school? Like all public schools should have access to art. So I'm like brainstorming. I'm going to reach out to my school board member. You know, all these different.
I know that I would want to reach out to my school district board and like just, you know, like show them that there's, if the kids clearly want it and it's clearly like mandated, like why aren't we doing it, you know?
Yeah, it's like
just like continuing to emphasize, like not just like you said, like it's not just learning about theater, it's like all the things in the background as well that come with it that like help these students grow and just, you know, want to pursue a career in the future in general.
Yeah. So I know Create CA has a pledge that we just put out to raise awareness around the issue, and we just need people to join, but also, you know, think about how we can start these conversations in our communities. Like it starts in our households, right? Like I know I value the arts and my parents value the arts, but what about, you know, my neighbor next door or, you know, like my friend's house? Like maybe they don't think the arts are essential. So how can we, you know, start on a smaller level and eventually like ripple effect and get the whole state and then the whole country and then the whole world to care about arts education.
Exactly. I know I had to start with having kind of a difficult conversation with my parents because, of course, now they're very supportive of like my artistic career. But yeah, it just starts with having those conversations in the house, and then, you know, it translates from there into like the community, and then even bigger, and then just outgoing into like just like the town and the school district, and then going into the city, things like that. But I think a big step we as kids can take is like just talk first, like I would say like have those kind of difficult conversations with your parents first, if you know that, you know, they might not understand where we're coming from. But yeah, definitely like encouraging the youth to have those conversations is a big thing. What we can do as, you know, 17-year-olds and Los Angeles.
Yeah, yeah, and even talking to like our peers too, because I
Right.
think, we come from a place where arts are super normalized, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's part of our day. But having those conversations to be more conscious and be like, look, we have this super great privilege, but how can we use our platform and our power, to be able to help others, and to start those conversations in our own communities,
Hmm.
just super powerful.
Exactly. Yeah. I know the more we like talk about this, I just feel like so lucky to be part of just like LOXA. Like I'm just like pondering in the back of my head like it's such a big deal to be part of LOXA. And even like us as LOXA students, I feel like we forget sometimes. But
Yeah.
um, it just like constantly like just feeling that like that privilege that like yeah, I'm here for an arts education. I get to spend half my day in a school day and half of it, with a family, like a theater family of mine, learning and like reaching for new things. So yeah, it's very exciting. I know, and I also knowing like the situation right now, like are we gonna go back to school in the fall? Yeah, like all of that is very like subjective right now. I just feel like this level of comfort knowing that even if it's on Zoom, through, even if it's a virtual classroom, I'm gonna have that art, like that theater family with me, and I'm gonna be able to have that arts education, even if it's modified. Like I'm here for it. I want to keep doing it. Yeah, it just keeps you motivated in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, it gives you something to look forward to. I know I'll always be here with my paintings. They'll
Yeah,
always be here for me. I'll be there for them.
exactly.
But yeah, it's just, it's so essential. I think in our lives, it has become so essential and is such a life raft amidst all this like chaos. Is like I
Right.
always have art to turn to, and I always have this, this thing waiting to receive me with open arms.
Exactly.
To help me process the world, and process how I'm feeling and how I'm doing.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah. Also, like, kind of touching on like everything that's going on in the world today. Just arts just being like almost, at least for me, like the perfect outlet for all of this stuff and being able to express, being able to just release once in a while. Um, I know theater has always been, even dance has always been that thing for me. Like, it's just my outlet. It's time when I'm just relaxing and like letting myself be. You know?
Yeah, yeah. So we have to, like you said, you put it so perfectly. We have to start these conversations as students, as parents, as faculty members, whoever you are, just starting that
Exactly.
conversation in your household, and hoping that it ripple effects out, and that, we can have everybody understand that the arts are not, nice to have. They're essential. They're so.
Essential. And yeah, I know that's great. I just like all of this like hitting me as well. Just like I know maybe students feel like, oh, I'm just a student, I don't have a voice. Like if even if I do say it, it's not really gonna like impact anyone. But we need to understand that we are the students. The schools are supposed to be helping us. Like we're here for an education. You guys should be catering to us. And like knowing that students do have a voice, students do have power. Um, and yeah, once again, just like having those conversations, even with the faculty member who may not understand that. Oh yeah, this is why arts is essential. Um, as kids, like as students, like we have that power. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always say, like, if I can change one person's mind, I've done my job, because then, their mind is changed and they go change somebody else's mind and somebody else
Exactly.
after that. And so,
I
we can
know
all
that's
start our,
fire. That's a perfect way of saying it.
yeah, our own little chains of change is what
Exactly. Oh my
what I'll
God, chains of change. Wonderful. I love that.
Well, thank you so much, Reva, for joining me on this live
No,
tonight.
this was so fun. I wish I would do this every day if I could.
I know. Yeah, we'll do it every day after. We'll keep going. But yeah, it's so great to be able to, talk to like another artist and also another student, and just,
Yeah,
show this is so important.
of course. Anytime. Anytime. This was
Well,
this was amazing.
yay. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Make sure that you sign the pledge, for arts education at createca.org. And we hope to see you next week.
Wait.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.